There we go. Okay. So for the focus of this workshop, we'll be going over college selection, overcoming obstacles, first year experiences, success once on campus, problem solving skills, and interpersonal skills. And you might not have expected all of that in a workshop that's about finding the right fit for college, but a lot of these things overlap and play into each other. And it's great to have an overall view when you're actually planning on what college you want to go to and what experience you're looking for. So, excuse me. The main design of the workshop is to help students in finding the right fit for their selecting process for college, as well as fitting in with campus life. There's a lot more aspects that students will look into when looking into the college that they want to attend. That doesn't just have to do with academics, and that's completely fine, though that's what you technically go for, and that should be the priority. There's other aspects of colleges and campus life that you'll want to look into to make sure that the college you're choosing is the right fit for you. And a part of that is knowing what's out there. So I do have some questions for you guys that are on the screen now. If anyone wants to take a guess of how many colleges and universities you think exist in the United States, the whole country. Any guesses? And if you want to come off of mute instead of putting it in the chat on this one, you can. No guesses? Any guesses for Georgia? I hear someone. Was someone about to guess?
3,000.
3,000, okay, not too bad, but I'll say more. If anyone wants to follow up, or if you want to throw another number out there. Okay, Lydia put 5,000 in the chat, and I'm going to say that that's approximately the right answer. 5,000 colleges and universities exist throughout this country. Now, does anyone want to take a gander at how many of those are in Georgia? It's not quite as big a number, I will say that. 100, okay, when I said 100, not bad. You're very close. We're at around 75 for Georgia. And that includes public and private colleges and tech schools. So we're getting up there, not nearly as much as putting the dent into the amount in the whole country, but we've got a good bit of options here that you can look into. But that's also just there to show you that there's a whole lot to look at and to look into and to break down when you're making the choices for colleges. So another question would be, what are some typical admissions requirements that you're going to have to provide when you apply to college? And you can say any random thing that comes to your mind that you think would be included in this. Okay, we've got name. Yes, definitely. Don't forget that part on any documents that you fill. SAT scores. Yes. Any other input want to be given? GPA minimum, counselor, is that counselor records or transcripts? Yes. Recommendations. You will usually have recommendations for some colleges. Yeah, y'all are doing good. Those are all good examples. Some other ones just to list it off to keep in mind. Yep, citizenship status is one too. That could include keeping into account your major, yes, your application fees, immunization records, as someone said, the GPA, your test scores. So yes, your SAT, but also ACT, your class ranking, if you're valedictorian or any of those things, that's going to be important to include in your college applications. As Lydia said, your transcripts. There might be essays or recommendations that you might have to get from teachers, counselors, professors, any list of extracurricular activities that you're involved in. It's also suggested that students have a student's resume of sorts, or getting recommendation letters too, that they can add in to add the little extra something to their applications. Also, if you took any dual enrollment courses, you want to make sure that those credits are included on your transcript and that those are sent off with your applications. All right, another question would be and this is more based on you, your own opinion, what are some of the most important factors and criteria that you're looking for in a college? Available majors, that's definitely a big one. Yep. Tuitions and fees, yeah, you gotta know how much money do you need? Anything else? Career resources, that's good. That's good, yes. Student to teacher ratio, yep. I would definitely say that's an important criteria, especially once you get into your major. Graduation rate, yep. Okay, Missy, yep. That's a good one too. Those are all really, really good ones to keep in mind. The environment around this college, like if it's city or suburban, yep. Taking into account the environment and what kind of area that you want to be in is definitely important. I'm from a small town and I moved out to go to school closer to Atlanta. And I learned that city life is not for me. I like having all the restaurants that I could ever imagine, but I don't like the traffic. I don't like the noise. It's not everything that I ever wanted. So that's something to know about yourself and to keep into account when you're picking out your schools. Um, and another question, just to get an idea of what you guys are looking for, is what colleges are on your short list right now and why? And a short list is just the main ones that you're really excited to apply to, and you definitely know you want to submit an application to. And if you have a reason, go ahead and include that. And also know that there are no dumb reasons here, because I always like to tell people that I chose to go to Kennesaw State and applied there because I toured in 9th grade and I loved the cafeteria food. That's literally the reason. And 17-year-old me thought that that was a valid reason. Luckily, Kennesaw State is a good school, so it worked out. Whatever your reason is, go for it. Okay, we've got Clayton State University because it has your major and it's a good cost and the environment was amazing. That's good. That's good. Looks like you've already done some research into it, and that's great. Anyone else want to put theirs? That's fine. We can go ahead and move on. So from what it looks like some of you guys have already started to kind of look into and investigate your potential colleges, which is great. If you haven't started, don't freak out. Don't feel like you're behind. There's no time like the present, but it's an important decision and it's worth some serious consideration and given a lot of time, effort, and financial commitment. So figuring out what college is going to be the right fit for you is really important. And it's important to try some on. And usually what we mean by that is visiting the campuses and seeing if you can see yourself there. If you feel like the campus is a good fit for you, if you like the vibe, if you like the environment, if you like the scenery, the people, the food, whatever is important to you, being able to visit those campuses mostly in person is what would be suggested. But being able to visit those campuses and see what they're all about is really going to be something that will help you make the right decision for you. So when you're getting into that process, there's a lot of questions that usually come up, and one of those is usually a lot to do with how to even start. So here are some ideas of how you can start looking into colleges and figuring out which ones might be the best fit for you. So starting with researching colleges online, just seeing what's around you might be a good place to start. Talking with your friends and families, seeing if they have any suggestions, or if they have any feedback on, if you do have any parents or family that went to college, if they have any feedback on the schools that they attended, things that they wish they would have known before applying or before attending that school, and even things that they really loved about their school that they want to make sure that you can have the same experience. Visiting your high school counselor or college prep advisor is always going to be a good idea. You want to have good relationships with those people as you're going through your senior year, and making sure that you have the connections you need to make that, to get the information you need to make those things happen. And just start making a college wish list. Think about the things that are going to be important to you, whether that's your major, whether that's food, whether that's where it's located, all of those things. Having a wish list of what your ideal college campus and experience will be like. Go ahead and make that wish list, write out all the things and start working your way through it. And definitely talk to other college students, whether that's college students that you know, whether you're on a tour at a school and you see some students, talk to them, ask them questions. That's your time to pick their brain and see how they feel about it. And also look at college brochures. Most of us get a lot of those in the spam mail that they're cute and all, but we might just throw them away, or maybe our parents or adults in our homes throw them away and don't think that you're interested in that information. If you are, be sure to let someone know. Getting those newsletters and those brochures in the mail can really give you some insight into the college and whether it's something that you want to look into. You can always chat with college reps. That's literally their jobs, to answer your questions, see if the school is a good fit for you. You're not bothering them. You're not inconveniencing them. You're not wasting anyone's time. That's literally what they're there for. And to specify, usually college reps are considered people that are working within admissions or recruitment. If you talk to the wrong person, just call the admissions office. They should be able to direct you to those people that you would be able to talk to. And also, if you email admissions or recruitment at blah blah edu at university, whatever their email is, usually you'll get connected to someone that is already in that position. And like I said, read mail sent from colleges. There's great information in there. Attend college fairs, whether that's ones that your schools are hosting. Look if there's ones that are happening in the community. If you live in the metro Atlanta area, there are plenty of organizations that have them all year. Whether those are probe fairs which are usually statewide. You probably have one going on around with you, even if you're not in the metro area and don't even know it. They also host virtual ones now, so that are usually free to students. The pro fair is always free, but there's other college fairs that might not be, but you can always look into it and get that information. Visit college campuses while classes are in session. I never suggest that students take winter break, spring break, or summer tours. You're not going to get a real life view of what that college campus is like. Matter of fact, you might walk through and be like, this is boring, because no one's going to be there. There are students, of course, that take summer classes, but you're not really getting insight into what that college campus is looking like when it's in the midst of the semester, and flooded with college students that are living their life. So if you're going to visit a campus, it is suggested that you go through a time where classes are actually in session. Summer is still a good time. You're just not going to get the same experience as far as activities and the population of students that are going to be there. If you don't have any other time to go other than those breaks, understandable. But if you can make it happen, make it happen. And that also includes potentially not going on the weekends, because its classes aren't traditionally in session, so it might not be as active either, though there might be activities that are still going on. And last but not least, don't get too fixated on one particular college. A lot of us have dream schools and ones that we might have even been set on or encouraged to go to from birth. Who knows? Especially if you have family that are huge sport fans of Georgia, you're going to UGA, you're going to Georgia Tech, whatever those things are, or your family got that's their alma mater and they're wanting you to attend and it's grown up as a passion of yours, completely understandable. But don't get stuck on that one school only for the sake of making sure that you have looked at all of your options and you're informed of what's available out there for you. If you get in and go to that dream college that you've been thinking about for your whole life, then that's amazing. But don't get stuck on that to where you don't look anywhere else. So, as I've kind of brushed over in our conversations, here's just a list of some things that you should consider when thinking of your criteria for school. Specifically looking into what type of college it is, whether it's small, whether it's a college or a university, whether they have sports, whether they have and what kind of sports those are. If you are an athlete, those things might matter to you, or if you just are into that. And then admissions requirements. Do you qualify? Do you have the requirements needed to be able to get into the school? And also realize that if you don't, not all of that means that you should not apply. You might not even have your test scores back yet, or you might still have the opportunity to bring up your GPA and things like that. So don't take admissions requirements as an end all be all. Some of them might be a reach, and that's okay. That shouldn't be your only option then, but you can still look into it and apply. Knowing where you want to look, if you want to stay close to home, if you want to move a few hours away so you're not too far, or if you want to be by the beach, those are things that you can keep in mind. These are all things that you shouldn't make your single choice, but things that you can keep as a criteria for choosing your major. Choosing your college. Then knowing what majors are available. If you have a set career that you're into, that you know that that's what you want to pursue, definitely go to a university that's going to have that major. If you go to a tech school or community college for those first year or two to get your general education courses out of the way and then transfer, that's completely fine, completely normal, will save you some money on that overall price tag. But at the end of the day, you do need to know what colleges have the majors that you're interested in. And if you're not sure, at least have an idea of the ones that you're looking at, even if you haven't decided completely on what you want to do. Most people will still change their major. I think the average is like 3 times in their college career. I know that's about what I did. So, so things do change. Some people are gun ho and stick to their guns, and that's great. But there's are life experiences that happen and change. Classes spark different passions in you. So keep an idea of the things that you're passionate about and what you want to look into. Of course, the overall price tag, as we mentioned, making sure it's somewhere that is affordable to you, whether that's because you've done a whole lot of hustling with financial aid and scholarships, and you know that you have this amount of money that will fund your college career, then go for it. Make sure that you know what is within possible range for you. Um, and don't let the overall price tag necessarily scare you either. Maybe that just means that you do need to go gun ho on scholarships and that you need to push to be able to get the financial aid and support that you need. But still keep that in mind because you don't want to be putting yourself into a situation where you are going completely under for your education. Um, Available financial aid. Some schools have more than others. Some schools have additional financial aid for certain students in need, whether that's through scholarships and things like that. private institutions don't always get the same financial aid as public institutions. So being aware of that is definitely important. And if you feel like that's confusing and you can't figure out how to find that information, call their financial aid office. They'll answer those questions for you and they should have the answers. Um, and then also understanding the size of the institution, whether you want a small, close, intimate feel of the campus, if you're okay with a medium-sized campus where you can still see a lot going on, meet a lot of people, and there's a lot of activities, but it's not overwhelming. Maybe you want to go big or go home and go to a huge university where there's a never-ending campus where you can go all over town and be in your campus. Know what you're interested in, what would be comfortable for you, and also keep that in your mind when coming to, as someone had mentioned earlier, like the student to professor's class ratio. And then the academic opportunities. Research universities might have a lot of different research and academic opportunities that students can take advantage of. There might be a lot of clubs that are academic focused that students can take advantage of. There might be study abroad opportunities that can fall into that category. Academic opportunities can kind of be whatever are interested in you that have an academic focus, but being aware of those things and what's available on your campus is going to help you make the decision of what's right for you and the experience that you want. So I do have to bring up one big thing called summer melt. So it's a weird term to me, but it makes sense. But it is a thing, and it's what colleges and universities call this odd phenomenon of prospective students that have been accepted and fully admitted, applied to the university, but don't show up their freshman year. They end up disappearing throughout the summer and they don't end up showing up for college in the fall. So keep in mind that a lot of the times this can be due to extenuating life circumstances. Things happen, but sometimes it's also due to not planning and making sure that you have done what you need to do to be prepared to actually go off to college in the fall. Making sure that you have housing arrangements, making sure that you know that your financial aid is going to be under control. Registering for classes and knowing what you're going to be taking. As much as you can prepare as possible, it's going to help you feel confident throughout the summer after graduation and make your way to getting into and attending your first week of classes and getting through that first semester. All right. And okay, question. Does this apply to students who pick another school to attend? The summer melt, so technically the statistics do include students that decided to go to another university that they were admitted to. So not all students that are in the summer melt statistic are because they actually didn't go to college. The range of it is actually, I think, it says up to 40% on that slide, but I think the actual range is 10 to 40% because of situations just like that. Students can get accepted to multiple colleges, so you might just not choose that one, and that's fine. But there are cases, especially with students I've worked with, where they did not have everything lined up how they thought they did and weren't able to make it in that first semester. And they might still make it to spring, but that's just kind of the idea that of what summer melt is. It's more common for students that are coming from lower socioeconomic status and need extra support in order to make it into their first year of college. But you're not technically considered summer melt if you went to another school. You just didn't go to that one. And so here are some reasons not to pick a college. And some of them are easily noticeable. You probably wouldn't choose to go necessarily just because it's the most expensive school, but there are plenty of people who are thinking about affordability and choosing the cheapest school. Doesn't mean that it shouldn't be a reason that you are looking at the school, but don't let any of these be a single factor choice as to why you're choosing to go to this school. So, your significant other or best friend going there is not necessarily a strong, valid reason to choose that school. Yes, we want to have connections and relationships to places we go, and it can feel more securing to go with your significant other or best friend. But it can also complicate your college experiences. You can always maintain old friendships, but it is important to make new ones once you arrive to campus too. You are able to broaden your social circle in college and meet new people and discover who you are as a person. So don't feel like you have to follow anyone anywhere. If that's where you want to go and you have friends that end up going, that's great. Just again, these are just reasons to not make your sole reason as to why you're going to that school. It's your parent, guardians, or siblings' alma mater. So it's great to get their input. It's great to hear their stories about the good old days on campus, but don't let the nostalgia rub off on you a little too much. Everyone's college experience is unique, and what's good for them may not be the same for you. So hopefully your parents or siblings would respect your choice of college, wherever that may be. And it is still fun and cool to choose to go somewhere that happens to be your family's alma mater, and there's nothing wrong with that. Just again, making sure that that you're making these decisions for you. So you want to stay close to home. Over half of students end up choosing college within 100 miles from where they live. And that's completely fine, but be honest with yourself as to why you feel it's necessary to be near home. Although it's tempting to have the comforts of home and a short drive away, it shouldn't be the only reason you pick a college. Plus, going home every weekend can hamper your social connections and even prevent you from fully experiencing college life. So sometimes getting away from home, I just went an hour away. Whenever I wanted to go home, I could. But if I didn't, it was far enough to like feel free to venture off in and explore my own college experience and see a different part of the world. Like I said, though I was still in Georgia, I'm from a small town that's not got a whole lot going on. So moving closer to the city, I was able to kind of learn the best of both worlds and what kind of environment that I would actually want to be in after I graduated from college and started on to my adult grown up life or whatever. So having that range of experiences was actually really helpful in helping me realize that I'm not necessarily tied to one place, but I do have an environment that I like and enjoy. Um, the college is highly ranked. College rankings have come under some serious criticism in recent years because the metrics used by ranking companies can be unfair and simply flawed. Inflated rankings happen for certain institutions, which can dwarf colleges that have equal or, in some's opinion, better quality based on minor differences. So don't put too much stock into college rankings. Instead, focus on criteria that's important to you when researching colleges. Rankings can still be important if you're trying to get into what would be considered Ivy League schools and things like that. It's still important information to know, but again, not the sole reason that you choose to go there. You want a college with a great sports team. Whether you play sports or not, and you just want to root for the team in the stands, many colleges place extreme emphasis and a lot of money towards athletics. So school spirit is a fabulous thing, and attending athletic events or playing contributes to the feeling of being connected to the college. So it's completely understandable why that could be important to you. But athletics on campus isn't the same as academics. You can attend the college to get an education that has a lot more impact and is way more important on whether or not the Owls have a winning season. So keep that in mind. Yes, sporting events can be a great way to socialize and have a college experience. So it can be an important part of your college experience. But again, don't let that be your sole reason. Even if you're an athlete, there's important aspects, especially in your academics, that you should consider too. And going to college in a city and or near a beach sounds fun. Choosing a college because you want to live in a warmer climate or in an urban setting might not make practical sense if you factor in the added cost of living in those areas. The basic cost of living is often higher, so what little money you have will need to be stretched even further when it comes to expenses outside of college costs. So also consider that tuition at these schools may be higher than what you'd pay elsewhere. Financial aid could be harder to come by as well. So colleges don't have to be generous when plenty of students want to attend. Maybe save the beach or city for the spring break. If you do want to get in a different environment, there are plenty of universities and colleges that might fall into these criteria or might be closer or just a different environment that you can enjoy. But don't let those be the deciding factors again. So I do want to ask a question of the reasons that I have on here not to pick a college. Would any of them be most tempting to you? And you can be honest. As I had mentioned earlier, I picked a school based on enjoying the food in the cafeteria. So these reasons aren't even that. Okay, Lydia had put the highly ranked one is definitely tempting. And that is understandable because it gives that alluding factor that this is going to be a great school all around, that when I'm going, a lot of people will even put in the factor that jobs are going to care about me going to a highly ranked school. And that's not necessarily true or false. Sometimes it's indifferent. Unless you're trying to be the top of your field, going to Harvard might not matter that much. That doesn't make it any less of a feat. Congratulations to anyone who gets into Harvard, Yale, any Ivy League school. It's an important accomplishment and kudos to you. But don't let those be the only motivations that get you into a school. And Monet put 7, going to college in a city or near the beach sounds fun. And that's understandable. Like I said, from being from a small town, moving close to the city sounded like a great idea because there was literally nothing but fields where I lived. So being able to even go to, we didn't even have a cookout. So being able to be closer to restaurants and things like that made being closer to the city appealing to me. And there's a lot of college options if you're in Georgia, around the city. Coming to Atlanta might not be the choice for you, but there are plenty of colleges that fall into the metro Atlanta area that might be more affordable, might be a little less quiet, a little more quiet. And there's also other cities that can have just as much activity to them, maybe not as much as Atlanta, but which could be a good thing. But there's other cities within the state that will provide you with the things that you might be looking forward to in a city that might not come with the cost that moving to Atlanta is if you don't currently live here or have housing options here. Of course, the beach sounds fun. I would choose the beach any day, and that's a hard one for me. If I could go to school in Savannah or something and be close to the beach, I probably would take that opportunity, but also looking into to make sure that I'm going to a quality school that has everything else that I want to. And if anyone wants to also put in if any of these reasons wouldn't be an issue for you at all, as in they wouldn't tempt you at all. For me, it's sports. I don't think I attended a single sporting event in my time in college. I genuinely can't remember if I ever went to one. I partially regret that now, but I'm just not into sports. parent, guardians, alma mater. I can see that. Wouldn't really tempt me either, especially since my parents went to school where I'm from. So staying close to home is not that tempting. I feel you. I felt that one. I definitely felt that one. All right. I guess let's get into some things to actually do consider when picking your college. So, some fitting things to consider when you're considering what college to choose. Admission rate. So this is basically just an idea of how likely are you to get admitted into the college. Some colleges have low admission rates, which means they're very competitive, whereas others have high admission rates, which means that it's easier to get into. Consider your GPA and ACT, SAT scores to see if you qualify for the minimum admission requirements before applying. Although it's good to apply to reach schools, you do need to apply to some that are more of your match and sure thing colleges. And for those who might not know those terms, match just means that you do meet most of the criteria to get in. Sure thing colleges are that, excuse me, that it's pretty much a sure thing that you would be able to get into the school. You meet all the requirements, and maybe they have like rolling admissions where they don't have a cutoff date. Excuse me. Another one, which is what someone had mentioned earlier, graduation rates, but also freshman retention rates. You can usually find those percentages on the website, or you can call and get that information. But finding out the percentage rate of students that actually graduate within 4 years at that college can help you see either whether they have a good success rate. That also usually can give you a measurement of um, how well professors are getting through to students there, what resources they might have available that are going to help students get through to graduation and things like that. But institutions take these numbers very seriously, and so should you. The most important thing about your whole college experience is that you graduate. So you don't want to go to a school that has a 30% graduation rate. That just seems like the odds are already kind of stacked against you when you get there. Obviously, there's 30% of people who made it through, and you can be those, but making sure you're aware of that and seeing how many other people have made it to the finish line at that particular college can speak volumes about the institution and the support that it can provide you in reaching that goal. And the freshman retention rate is about basically how freshmen survive their first year there, whether they've drop out after the first year, whether they are still continued freshmen and didn't get the credits that they needed. Things like that can fall into whether you know that this is going to be a good fit for you. Of course, those numbers can be inflated a little bit because of extenuating circumstances, but you do want to take into consideration those rates to see what kind of supports and how that is affecting the existing students there. And I think Lydia mentioned this earlier with the student to faculty ratio. This basically gives you a number that gives you the idea of the average class size, but that will vary depending on the institution and also once you get into your major. Usually your general education courses are going to be larger class loads, but that doesn't mean that this number isn't important. It'll give you an idea of how much individual attention you'll get and what you can expect from professors at large universities. These numbers, especially for, like I said, the freshman and sophomore classes, maybe hundreds to one instructor, hundreds of students to one instructor. And though in a lot of situations that can be considered normal, you have to think about whether that's something that can fit you and the way that you learn and what attention and extra support you might need from your professors. Class sizes will reduce as you progress for taking classes more specific to your major, which will help you feel less like a number in the crowd, but do know that many colleges take pride in having smaller class sizes even in the lower undergraduate levels. So you want to go to a school that knows that this is important and actually puts it into action. Quality of professors. And this kind of has to do with TA and which is teaching assistants and graduate assistant usage. So you go to college to get the best education possible. So you want professors that are going to have impressive qualifications, including their education and real world experiences. So a lot of professors at institutions that might be research heavy, or they're really just interested in pursuing tenure, which is just like an earned status of being at that university indefinitely. They can be doing research on their own or doing things that might take a lot more time. And because of that added responsibility, they end up just teaching more upper level courses and leave the bigger classes to be taught by TAs and GAs who don't really have the experience or the expertise to be a professor. Um, and they might be very smart, very well versed in what they're teaching. They've probably most definitely taken the class usually, and can still be very helpful, but they're supposed to be the assistant, not the teacher. So keeping that in mind and figuring out that information is going to be helpful for you. It's helpful to know how many classes are actually taught by professors. Um, and if you have the option, always pick a class that's taught by the experts. You're paying for it, so you should get the most bang for your buck. Um, and Another things to consider are the course of study and the quality of the department. If you have a specific major or course of study in mind, you'll want to seek out colleges that not only provide that course of study, but also have recognition in that particular field. Some schools are known for certain majors, so to speak. So you would want to reach out to them first, ask to meet with faculty in that department, then have questions prepared for the meeting, such as like how many students graduate with this degree and have jobs after graduation. Will I need to pursue a degree beyond a bachelor's to be able to get employed or be successful in this field? Getting information on that particular field and course of study within that institution is going to give you some insight, not only on whether this is a school for you, but maybe even if that's the major for you. Personally, I originally was majored in psychology to become a therapist. Then I realized how much school that would take because I wanted to have a private practice. And I realized that just wasn't for me. And that's okay. So being aware of those things beforehand will save you some time and potentially some money. So definitely look into that stuff first. And don't feel weird about reaching out to the faculty or trying to arrange meetings. A lot of this is a part of their job. So they're there to give you advice, give you help, and help you make the right decisions for your education. So this is a time to advocate for yourself and figure out that information. Another thing to consider would be on-campus living. Living on campus is a big part of the college tradition, an expensive tradition, often costing as much as tuition itself. So you want to consider your options. You might think about living off campus or at home to save some money. However, some colleges recommend or even require, which is something to look into, that freshmen live on campus because it has been proven to help with retention. Although room and board is payable through financial aid, you still need to make sure that you have enough financial aid because the cost is significant. Many campuses try to woo potential students with modern residence halls, fancy workout facilities. So be careful and weigh your options for on-campus housing. It can cost less to stay in a basic dorm than a fancy apartment style residence hall. So just be aware of the options that are available to you and take that into consideration. Also look into what meal plan options are available because when you move on to campus or when you're a freshman, sometimes meal plans are assigned to you based on your credit hours, and it may be significantly more meals and money than you want to spend or eat on campus. So definitely make sure that when you're getting onto campus that you look into those things. so that you're not losing out on money that could have gone towards your actual academics. And student activities. So activities on campus are abundant, especially at larger colleges and universities. Of course, academics should take priority, but so don't get so involved that those things suffer. But finding the right balance of involvement and study time is really a great way to get involved in campus and have a great college experience. So you do want to take that into account. Activities can help you develop those new friendships and establish connections on campus and in the community that could benefit your resume and help you gain access to a bigger network, not just for work, but just life in general. Having those connections are going to last you a lifetime. And some things that are also worth investigating, which I know I've kind of given you guys a lot, but just to add a little to it, understanding the safety statistics, and you can look these up for the college itself or the area. You do want to be aware of the place that you're going to be spending the next 4 years living there, and knowing what's going on, how your campus handles safety, how important it is to them, and things like that. You also might want to look into the campus demographics, see if there is a diverse population going on there, if they have representation that you want to see on your campus, and things like that. Looking into work study and campus jobs. If you qualify for Pell, you qualify for work study. If they don't have those jobs available on campus, then you're missing out on additional financial aid that you could be receiving. So definitely look into those options. Job placement after graduation, you will want to see if they have a alumni association network, if they have career services that really helps seniors work through their graduation plans and finding a job afterwards. Transportation on or around campus. This is really important if you don't have a car or there's not enough parking on campus, which is something to consider because there's usually not. So you might want some transportation to get you around where you need to go. And if you want to pursue other continuing education, whether they have professional or grad school options, is going to be something you want to look into too. So, get into life on campus. There's usually a lot of thought about fitting in on campus once you get there. You might have picked the school for everything that you love and want out of it, but once you get there, you want to make sure that you have the most out of your experience and that you feel comfortable in the decision that you made and where you're going to be living for the next 4 years, if not more. So one thing that I will always stress is to go ahead and start managing your expectations, because college can be a kick in the pants. So no matter how much you prepare for college and what it will be like, it will not be exactly what you expected. That's just human. That's the human experience. It's human nature for us to picture events and scenarios to be a certain way, but things rarely work out exactly how you envisioned, and that's okay. That's life. Part of being functioning adults in the world is going to be managing your reactions, feelings, and expectations when things don't go as planned. So learning to make the best out of the situation, stay positive, being flexible, and preparing for worst case scenarios to know what obstacles are and setbacks and obstacles will happen, but it's okay. You can be resilient. You'll consider adversity as a learning opportunity and not something that's going to ruin the experience for you. So with that in mind, I do always want to point out three main things is to take note of boredom. Sometimes college can be boring. You might sit through some dry, monotone lectures that seem never ending on topics that you really don't care about, having to read hundreds of pages of dual textbooks, and it's easy to have that temptation to pull out your phone, scroll through Instagram or TikTok, and then you have to kind of remind yourself like, hey, I paid for this. I need to be present in this moment. I need to make sure that I'm getting the information from my professors so that I'm understanding the topic that's being taught to me. Um, Working on your note-taking skills, start writing down quality notes. The brain remembers the best if you write things down, pencil to paper, but use your notes to study for exams because any word spoken by the professor can be prime material that can show up on your exam. If it was talked about in class, it's fair game. So don't let boredom be a distraction. Don't let it be something that takes you um, that affects your grades because you let it take over and stop paying attention in class. Um, Expect to feel awkward. College is a new experience as you're surrounded by people from different places, maybe even different countries. You may look, speak, behave differently from them. You likely won't know exactly how things work on campus when you get there, which means things can be disorienting and feel intimidating. But filling out a place can be awkward, but you have to kind of try and overcome those feelings and embrace the awkwardness. It's gonna feel weird for a little bit, but you're not the only one feeling that way. There's thousands of other freshmen that came in that are probably feeling the exact same way as you, and maybe that's a bonding experience. Um, Having those conversations with total strangers is pretty much required in adult life. So college makes great practice. Going ahead and getting familiar, getting comfortable being around unfamiliar people, places, and experiences is providing you with the opportunity to build an understanding that will hopefully connect you to future experiences. So keeping an open mind and embracing what's new is going to help you fit through that next phase of life as you get onto campus. And then, of course, accepting the challenge. College it's a work of its own. It's different from your educational experiences thus far. And maybe you've taken a few college courses through dual enrollment and stuff while you've been in high school, and you feel like you've got it when it comes to college, but at the end of the day, you don't. And that's not to scare anyone off. There's different professors, different teaching styles. Once you get into upper level classes, there's a different rigor and balancing multiple college classes. So things are going to be an adjustment, and it will be challenging, but you'll figure it out and it'll take time. It might take all 4 years, but you'll make it through. You'll have to keep moving forward. You'll move into your professional adult life, which will have challenges of its own. But keeping your frustrations in check and knowing that you're not alone in feeling that stress, don't hesitate to ask questions or seek help from professors, advisors, college staff, and other students. That's why organizations exist. That's why professors have office hours. That's why they have tutoring. There's so many resources on campuses that you should be aware of when you're going to that school so that you can take full advantage, because every one of them fees that are lined up in your financial aid pays for it. So that's all yours. Go for it. Get in there and take full advantage of all of that stuff that will help you make it through. And this is just some tips to try and help avoid some serious snags when you start getting into your college experience. First things first, starting off strong by attending your freshman orientation ready with the goal to meet new people, make connections, learn everything possible about your college, including the policies and code of conduct, making sure you're informed on those things. Don't skip class. It's going to be so tempting. You'll have many moments where you're stressed, you're tired, you just want to take a nap. Maybe you stayed up too late the night before. Whatever the reason, do your best to not skip class. There's going to be days where you're really not feeling well. You might be sick, something else might come up, an emergency that you're going to have to not attend class for. And you don't want to use up your any excused absences that you might have in a class. On just not feeling like it. So keep that in mind. Try and keep yourself in check. Don't let yourself fall behind or miss valuable lecture info. Learning that new material as if it's taught as it's taught rather than cramming before an exam is going to be vital to you instead of trying to get notes from your classmates, which is a great thing to do when you need to, but don't be reliant on it. Um, get involved on campus. There's clubs and organizations that have community service components and clubs, honor organizations related to your major that you can bulk up on your resume and network. Look into summer internships, study abroad opportunities. There's so much available on campuses that a lot of students don't take advantage of. And I don't want any of you guys to be one of those. So make sure that you get on campus and you get involved and you figure out your passions and the things that you want to get connected with. Um, follow each course syllabus to the letter. Your course syllabus is going to become the holy grail, the Bible of each class that you get into. It literally tells you everything you need to know about the class, your assignments, when things are due, what each lesson for class is going to be that night, what the grading scale is, how they're going to grade it, the rubrics, everything you need to know is in that syllabus. There's going to become a point when you start just waiting and waiting the week before class to see if your professors are going to upload the course syllabus so that you can get ahead of the game, which is great. But that's just something that like you need to go ahead and have in the back of your mind. That course syllabus is literally your biggest and best friend for every course that you take. Class policies are going to be specific to the individual professor, which can include attendance policies and tech device use, whether they're okay with you being on your phone or laptops. Some professors don't want that in their classroom. So that's something that you need to know, and you're going to find that in the syllabus. Getting to know your professors during their office hours is great. And it's a great way to seek out free tutoring, which is offered on most campuses. So again, be aware of what's available and address conflict with roommates or lab partners, teammates, etc. immediately with directness and a calm demeanor. Be specific about what your concerns or grievances are. Be willing to compromise and seek solutions. There are a lot of resources on campus that help with conflict because they know that they're going to happen. You have RAs, resident assistants, that are there to help you be a mediator, to walk you and your roommate or whoever through problems. There's coaches, there's assistants on teams that can help you work through issues. Always making sure that you're coming through it with a clear mind and that you're being calm and direct is a good way to go with it. But if you feel like you don't have the patience or the words to get through the issue right then making sure that you have someone that's available to mediate that conflict is going to be helpful. And that can be an RA, a professor, a counselor, whatever. There's also even some schools have mediation for conflict between students. So take advantage of those things if you need to find a solution with somebody. And also, if you hit a snag, don't panic. There's almost always a solution. Unless you've broken the law or you violated campus policy, there's likely a solution before giving up completely or moving back home to live with your parents. Seek support from campus faculty and staff. Unless it's an absolute emergency, it's highly suggested that you don't just quit school, especially not in the middle of the semester. You'll lose money, time, and credit. Try to hang in there. You have worked hard to get where you are, so sticking with it is going to be in your best interest. A lot of things are resolvable, whether it's you feel like you're failing a class, there's tutoring, there's professors that are offering help, there's study groups, there's so many options. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Being able to ask for help will lead you to success in almost anything that you get into. So don't allow that to be something that holds you back. So I do have one last activity for us. Whether anyone wants to participate, you can if you want to drop it in the chat, but it's just to go over some worst case scenarios to kind of give you some ideas of some problems or obstacles that you might encounter in college. And I just want to take a few minutes to go over the scenarios and see if anyone has any input on what they would do in the situation or what they think is the best option. So for scenario number one, You have only missed one class so far this semester. You've taken notes during class, but when you get your first test returned from the professor, you only scored a 68. So of these three options, what do you think would be the best option for you here? A, quit the class. B, wait until the next test to see if you improve. C, go visit your professor to express concerns and seek help. Okay, Monet said C. I'm going to go ahead and say that is the right answer. Don't wait to get help from the professor. You want to seek support with additional tutoring, improve your study habits. You want to reach out and get help. Don't wait until the next test to see if you get better, because the point is that you've done what you thought you needed to do up until this point and you didn't get the score that you wanted. So going ahead and getting feedback from your professor lets you know what you can do better to improve. They might have a whole bunch of study tips for you, things that they notice on your exam that you might just didn't elaborate enough, things like that. So going directly to who gave you the grade is going to be your best bet in expressing your concerns and getting the help that you need. Next scenario, it's the first day of class and you can't find the building or classroom for biology 1214. You're going to be late or miss the class entirely. So what do? A, keep searching. The class has to be out here somewhere. B, find the nearest person and ask for help. C, go back to your dorm, sulk and take a nap. Okay, we got B from Monet, B from Camille. Yes, B is right. So ask for help or directions from anyone nearby. If that person doesn't know, keep asking. There's going to be someone who knows where you need to go. Maybe you're in the right building, but you can't find how this room is numbered. The third floor has 2 numbers, the second floor has 5. You don't know. It's just all over the place. That's normal. There's going to be some weird numbers in buildings. There's one particular building on campus that nobody knows the code to. You just got to figure it out. So be sure to ask questions. There's people who work in those buildings that can tell you exactly where you need to go. And if that's who you need to find, that's fine. Scenario 3. You show up for the final exam of the semester, but the test isn't in the same location as your class, where it has been all semester. So the room's completely empty, but you know it was exam time. So you either immediately check the course syllabus for info, B, try calling or emailing your professor, C, text a friend and ask where to go. Okay, we got B for trying to call and email your professor. A, immediately check your course syllabus for info. A again. So in this one's kind of a trick answer because almost all of these are very possible options. I would particularly say immediately check your course syllabus for the info because 9 times out of 10, it will be on there. If that doesn't work, you call or email your professor. If there's a number that you can call, I'd call first because email might not always get through. A is what I would say would be your first point. If you have a friend that's in the class, don't just text any friend, obviously, but if you have a friend that's in the class that's usually on it, go ahead and text them to figure out if they can give you the answer before you might find it in the syllabus. But all of these could technically be the right answer. But I like that everyone was kind of A or B, go to the syllabus, talk to your professor. In scenario 4, the lab instructor for your physics 1104 course seems rude and unhelpful. You like the lecture professor, but don't seem to click with the lab instructor. What do? A, switch to a different section time for the lab. B, don't sew anything and suck it up. C, go to office hours and discuss your concerns and options. When I said C, don't want to say your name wrong, but Metanique said C. C from Ms. Stevens. That's right. You want to go and check the syllabus for office hours and visit both the lab instructor and the professor to respectfully express your concerns, and discuss your options. Remember that a science lab grade does factor into your overall GPA, so you don't want to just disappear. You don't want to suffer in silence. You want to make sure that you are expressing your concerns and figuring out what the options are. And don't think that you're going to just hurt everyone's feelings. You have to do what's best for you. You have to advocate for yourself. So if you feel like you're not clicking with this one, maybe they're just having a bad day and you got the vibe. So be mindful of that. And next scenario, there's just one more after this, so you guys know. Ever since moving into the residence hall, you and your roommate haven't gotten along. You cringe at the thought of sharing a space with someone you don't like. So you can either A, spend as much time as possible away from the room. B, have a tough but respectful convo with the roomie. C, seek advice from an RA. All right, we've got C, seek advice from an RA. Everyone's kind of going towards C. Okay, and that is right. That's not a wrong answer. B is also okay if you feel like you can have that tough but respectful, keyword, but respectful conversation with your roommate, go for it. If you don't think that that's something that you can have, then go ahead and get advice from the RA. They can be a mediator, they can come in, and maybe they can address the concern for you. It's suggested that you would start by communicating with your roommate clearly and respectfully to express your frustrations, but you can reach out to your RA for support as well, especially if you don't think that talking with your roommate is going to resolve the issue. Last scenario, it's the flu. You woke up with a fever, body aches, and you cannot make it to class. At this rate, you may never get out of bed again. So would you call or visit your campus health center right away? B, go back to bed and try to sleep it off. C, call, email your professors about having to miss class. All right, Donovan's got A, Monet's got A, we've got C. Excuse me. A and C are both right. So don't go back to bed until you've contacted your professors and sought medical treatment. You don't want to just be living in your dorm or bedroom with the flu. One, you're potentially contagious and infecting your roommates, though staying in your room after you've gone and sought medical advice and get the rest after that is definitely suggested. And if you're going to be out of class for any reason, definitely take the effort to email and let your professors know about you missing class. All right. And that is all that I have for the presentation. But if anyone has any questions or anything that they want to talk about, get some insight on, feel free to come off of mute or drop that in the chat. I do want to thank you guys for your participation. It's been fun having people to interact with on this. Okay, advice for starting credit in college. So are you talking about like financial credit, building credit? Okay, so some people will say that your student loans will start your credit. And though that's true, that's not the option that I would go for. Once you turn 18, you can start building your credit for yourself. If your family have added you prior to that to certain credit accounts, you might have already built up some credit. But my honest suggestion is going to your bank first. If you already have a bank account and you've had it for a few years, even if it's been under your parents, you can ask for and apply for a credit card through your bank. Only get that for the purpose of building credit. Do not get it as a spending account. Don't get it to go wild. Just use it for maybe gas or groceries and pay it off every month. That's going to be building your credit in college. You don't have to go big on building credit. Having no credit straight out of high school is better than killing your credit through college. Having no credit straight out of college is better than killing your credit through college. So keep that in mind. You don't want to just go out here and start applying for everything, because getting your credit ran that many times can hurt your credit too. So I'd say start with your bank, someone you already have a financial relationship with. If you do get a loan, that will go towards your credit, but it won't really build anything until you have to start paying on it after graduation. And then we have a question of how long should we wait before rejecting schools that we don't want to attend? Honestly, I would say either wait until the deadline or until you hear back from the school that you want to attend. You don't necessarily have to wait, but if you want to keep that school as your backup plan, then don't immediately reject them. Take your time, make sure that you get into other schools that you're interested in, and keep those on the back burner once you have their acceptance. There's not necessarily a particular timeline unless your school has a timeline on when you have to accept. So that's going to be something that you'll have to look at for that institution. But you can wait until you get the answer you want from a school that you're more interested in, and that's fine. If you've already got the acceptance from that school and you've accepted it and decided that that's it for you, you can go ahead and send in your rejection status. And with that, I will say, make sure that the one that you are accepting, that you are not rejecting the other one until you know you can afford and move it forward with enrollment and actually getting to that school. Any other questions? All right. Well, if that is all, I will release you all. I do want to thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with me and sitting through the presentation. Everyone will get access to the recording once it's uploaded to YouTube. It'll be sent out to everyone who registered. And if for those who came in late, if you're interested in any of the workshop documents, you should have received a worksheet to your email with some of the information that we went over. If anyone wants the presentation, feel free to let me know, respond to the worksheet email that I sent, and I'm happy to send you the presentation to make sure you get that information. But if that's it, then that's all. I hope you all have a good rest of your evening, and thanks again for joining me on here. You're welcome.